Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. Two hearts if you're ready, grab your drink, get comfortable, and let me pull you straight into this wild, dangerous, beautiful ride. If you're new here, don't forget to follow, like, share, all that good stuff, so you don't miss the next crazy love story when it drops. Now, let's begin. Ray didn't walk like somebody who owned anything in this world. She walked like someone borrowing space. Borrowing air. Borrowing time. Her backpack bounced against her spine as she cut through the alley behind Iron Howl Bar, the kind of place decent people crossed the street to avoid. Neon signs flickered over rusted dumpsters. The smell of spilled beer and gasoline clung to everything. Ray's sneakers were splitting at the sides, duct tape wrapped around one of them like a cheap bandage. Her jeans were too big. The hoodie swallowing her small frame had once been her dad's, back when she still had a dad, and walls and hot food, and a bed that didn't belong to the city or the sky. Tonight, she should have gone straight back to the shelter. She knew the rules. Curfew wasn't a suggestion. But somebody had handed her a bottle. Somebody had said, "You made it another week out here? You deserve a drink." And Ray, who hardly ever let anything stronger than cola pass her lips, had taken the bottle and tipped it back. Cheap whiskey burned all the way down, like swallowing a match. She laughed so hard she scared herself. Because for once, she didn't feel like the girl who'd lost everything. She felt light, fuzzy, almost happy. Bad combination. Iron Howl Bar was still thumping when she slipped in through the back door. The place belonged to a motorcycle club called Hell's Vow, and everybody in that part of town knew, you didn't mess with Hell's Vow. You didn't stare too long at their patches. You didn't ask questions about their money. You definitely didn't wander into their turf drunk. Ray did all three. The music slammed into her chest, rock loud and raw. The air was thick with smoke, sweat, and something else, power. Men in leather vests laughed too loudly. Women with ink-sleeved arms leaned across the bar. Ray kept her head down, clutching her backpack straps. She just wanted to find Mia. Mia worked as a bartender here 3 nights a week and slept on a thin mattress in the back storage room the rest of the time. When Ray had nowhere else to go, Mia was the one who shoveled half her fries into Ray's hands and said, "Eat, rat. You look like the wind could pick you up." But luck wasn't on Ray's side tonight. The bar was packed. Stools overflowing, pool tables busy, tables jammed with bodies and bottles. No sign of Mia's tight curls or gold hoop earrings anywhere. Ray's head was spinning harder now. The room swayed like it was full of water. She pressed her palm to her forehead. Bad idea. Coming here was a bad idea. She turned to leave. Just as a hand caught her wrist. "Hey," a low voice rasped in her ear. "You lost." She flinched and yanked back. The guy who'd grabbed her looked like every warning poster she'd ever imagined. Buzzed hair, scar across his brow, thick leather cut with the Hell's Vow skull and serpent patch on the back. I'm looking for someone," she muttered, trying to keep her words from slurring. He squinted at her hoodie, her beat-up shoes, the way her eyes wouldn't focus properly. "Yeah? And I'm Santa. You don't belong in here, sweetheart." He raised a hand like he was gonna motion someone over, security maybe or worse, and panic exploded in Ray's chest. "I'll go," she blurted, stumbling backward. "I'll go, I'm sorry." She spun around, shoved blindly through a door marked private without thinking. The door clicked shut behind her. Silence. The noise of the bar dulled to a low hum on the other side of the wall. Ray blinked, the dim hallway swimming in front of her. A strip of harsh fluorescent light flickered overhead. There were doors on either side, most of them closed. One cracked open at the very end of the hall. "Hello," she whispered. No answer. She should have turned around. She knew it. But some stubborn, exhausted part of her brain whispered something else. Just lie down. Just for a minute. The open door at the end revealed a room lit only by a small lamp on a dresser. The weird part? It was neat. Cleaner than she'd thought a biker's room would be. Bed made. Boots lined up. Helmet on a hook. Black leather jacket slung over the back of a chair like it lived there. Ray swayed in the doorway. Her body was screaming. Her feet hurt. Her stomach was empty. Her head was floating somewhere above her. "I'll just sit," she told the empty room. "Just a sec." She dropped her backpack near the wall and sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was warm from the summer air trapped inside the old building. It cradled her like it remembered someone else's weight. The lamp glowed softly. Her eyes burned. 1 second, she was promising herself she'd stand up. The next, she was lying on her side, cheek pressed into someone else's pillow, breathing in the faint scent of motor oil and pine soap. Her last thought before darkness swallowed her was simple and stupid. This smells like home. The door opened with a low click hours later. Boots thudded softly on the floor. The leather jacket rustled as someone pulled it off. Then, a pause. A breath held. Ray didn't wake. She was too far gone into the kind of sleep that only hits people who've been tired for months, not just days. The man standing in the doorway froze. Ryder Cole had earned his reputation. On the streets, they called him Grim. On the club patch, he wore the President rocker. On police reports, they wrote his name with underlines and circles, like it tasted wrong in their mouths. He wasn't the richest man in the city, but in this part of town, power didn't come in bank accounts and glass towers. It came in fear. In loyalty. In knowing that when you walked into a room, people paid attention or moved aside. Ryder was very used to people moving aside. He was not used to finding strangers sleeping in his bed. Especially not strangers who looked like that. A girl, tiny compared to him, curled around his pillow like it had been her favorite thing for years. Her hair spilled out from the hood of her sweatshirt, messy and dark. Her face was soft in sleep, pinched at the edges like even her dreams knew life hadn't been kind. He stepped inside, door slipping shut behind him. The room shrank around him, heavy ink on his arms, scars across his knuckles, jaw shadowed with stubble. Danger walked in with him. But when he looked at her, his shoulders tensed with something else. Not anger. Not yet. Concern. "Hey," he said roughly. No response. He moved closer. The girl's backpack lay near the wall, half open. He saw the edge of a folded flyer from a shelter. A city bus card. A clean pair of socks rolled tight like a precious treasure. Ryder's chest tightened. She was homeless. Out here, in his territory. Out here, wandering drunk into rooms belonging to men who were not like him. Men who wouldn't hesitate to use the opportunity. His jaw clenched. "Who the hell let you in here?" he muttered under his breath. At her, at the bar, at the world. She twitched in her sleep, fingers tightening in the blanket. That tiny movement punched straight through his irritation. He could have dragged her out. Could have yelled, made an example of her. That's what the patch demanded. No weakness, no loose ends. Instead, Ryder did something that would have shocked half his club. He walked around her, grabbed the extra blanket from the foot of the bed, and carefully, almost awkwardly, laid it over her. Her brow unfurrowed. Her lips parted on a soft sigh. Something inside him, something dust-covered and quiet, shifted. "Damn it," he whispered. "You picked the wrong bed, little stray." He turned off the lamp, sat in the old leather chair across the room, and kept his boots on. If anyone tried that door tonight, they'd go through him first. Ray woke up to the feeling of eyes on her. Her lashes fluttered. Her head throbbed. Her mouth felt like someone had lined it with cotton and regret. She breathed in. The pillow smelled like last night. Motor oil. Soap. Leather. Wait. She didn't own leather. Her eyes flew open. The room wasn't the shelter. It wasn't any hallway bench or alley she'd ever claimed before. This room had a bed, furniture, a lamp, a helmet on a hook, and a man sitting in the shadows, watching her. He leaned forward slowly. The chair creaked. The light from a hallway framed him, a tall wall of a man in a plain black t-shirt and dark jeans, arms inked up, throat tattoo curling around the muscles in his neck. His eyes were the color of storm clouds right before lightning hit. Ray's blood froze. She scrambled back so fast she nearly fell off the bed, clutching the blanket to her chest. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean." "Careful," he said. His voice was rough, deep, but controlled. "You're gonna crack your head open, and I don't feel like explaining that to anybody." She stopped moving, chest heaving. His gaze dropped briefly to her backpack, then back to her face. "You remember how you got here?" Heat slammed into her cheeks. The bottle. The bar. The hallway. The open door. Her stomach flipped with shame. I was looking for someone. I thought. Her throat tightened. I just needed somewhere to sit for a minute. I didn't think anybody would. I'm sorry. I'll go. She flung the blanket aside, fingers fumbling for her backpack. Sit, he said quietly. The word wasn't loud. Wasn't shouted. But it had weight. Ray froze at the edge of the bed. Slowly, she sat. Ryder studied her. Up close, it was worse. He could see the shadows under her eyes, the way the hoodie swallowed her frame, the tiny tremors in her fingers. You drunk? He asked. She winced. Not anymore. How old? 22. His brow twitched. She looked younger. Too much hunger preserved in her face. What's your name? She swallowed. There was no good way out of this, and lying to a biker president sounded like a stupid way to die. Ray. Ray what? Ray Parker. He nodded once, like he was filing it away. You know where you are, Ray Parker? She glanced at the helmet, the jacket, the faint rumble of engines she could hear even through the walls. Hell's Vow territory, she whispered. A humorless smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. Smart. He pushed up from the chair and crossed the room. She flinched automatically, fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. But all he did was plant his hand on the doorframe and block the exit. Her heart pounded. Listen, he said, voice low. You don't walk into rooms like this. Not in places like this. Not drunk. You understand. Yes, she whispered. You're lucky as hell it was my room. Ray's brows knit. You covered me? With the blanket. He shrugged like it was nothing, like he hadn't spent half the night staring at the ceiling and wondering when exactly he'd become the sort of man who watched over strays instead of kicking them out. Could have left you in the hall, he said. Didn't. Why? The word slipped out before she could stop it. Ryder's jaw flexed. For a second, something raw flickered in his eyes, then vanished behind a cool mask. Because I'm not a monster, he said simply. No matter what the papers like to print. She searched his face, confusion battling fear. He opened the door. Her heart leapt with relief, until he spoke again. You hungry? She blinked. What? You heard me. He glanced back at her. You look like you haven't eaten a full meal since Obama's first term. Come on. Her pride flared. I didn't ask you for anything. And I didn't ask you to break into my room. Silence. That shut her up. He jerked his chin toward the hallway. You can walk out that door and pretend this night never happened. Go back to pretending you're invisible. Or. He paused. Or you can eat something first. The way he said it, steady like a challenge, gnawed at her stubbornness. Her stomach growled so loudly it answered for her. Ray closed her eyes. Just a little, she said. Then I'll go. He didn't smile, but his shoulders eased half an inch. Kitchen's this way, trouble. Word spread fast in the clubhouse. The president had brought a girl to the kitchen. A nobody. Skinny. Hoodie. Backpack. The whispers were loud, even when they weren't. Ryder ignored every pair of eyes on him as he cracked eggs into a cast-iron skillet. Ray sat at the end of the long, scarred table, fingers laced together so tightly her knuckles were white. A couple of patched members drifted in, pretending to grab coffee, staring openly. One of them, a broad guy with a broken nose and a patch that read Fong, leaned close to Ryder. You sure about this, Prez? He murmured. Random girl sleeping in your bed? Smells like trouble. Ryder didn't look away from the pan. Everything smells like trouble around here. That's kind of the point. Fong snorted. She's shaking like a leaf. Then don't blow on her, Ryder said calmly. Fong huffed out a laugh and left them alone. Ray stared at the plate when he set it in front of her. Scrambled eggs, 2 slices of toast, a heap of hash browns that steamed in the cool morning air. Her throat tightened. Eat, he said. She did. Not dainty. Not pretty. Just fast, like she was afraid someone would snatch the food away. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching. She always like that? A voice called from the doorway. Ryder glanced up as Mia finally appeared, hair shoved into a messy bun, eyeliner smudged like she'd slept an hour and a half maximum. Ray froze mid-bite. Mia. Mia's eyes widened. Ray? What the hell are you doing here? Ray swallowed hard, suddenly ashamed. I was looking for you last night. I must have found my boss's bed instead, Ryder said dryly. Mia slapped a hand over her mouth, then dragged it down her face. Oh my God. Ray, you can't just. She knows, Ryder cut in. Trust me. She knows. Ray set her fork down, cheeks burning. I'll go. I've eaten. Thank you. I won't bother you again. Something sharp and irrational flared in Ryder's chest. He didn't like the way she said that. Like she really believed she was a bother just for existing. You got somewhere to be? He asked. Yes, she lied. He cocked his head, eyes narrowing. Shelter full up last night? She stiffened. Mia glanced between them. Ryder. Don't, he said quietly, without looking away from Ray. Don't lie to me, Angel. The new word slipped out before he could catch it. Ray's breath stuttered. Angel. He shrugged. You stumbled into my bed from the clouds, didn't you? Her lips parted. No one had called her a nickname that soft since before her father died. She couldn't stand how much she liked it. Ray left that day with a full stomach and a storm in her chest. She didn't owe Ryder Cole anything, she told herself as she walked back toward the shelter. Not gratitude. Not curiosity. Definitely not space in her mind. He was dangerous. Everybody knew that. Men like him didn't do kindness for free. Still, when she crawled into her narrow cot that night, pulled the thin blanket to her chin, and tried to sleep, she kept remembering the way he'd watched her eat. Not like she was disgusting. Not like she was pathetic. Like he was worried. No one had looked at her like that in a long time. Her biggest mistake, she decided, was not falling into his bed. It was leaving. Because that was the night Ryder started thinking about her. And Ryder thinking about anything was dangerous. His phone buzzed 3 days later while he was in the garage, elbow deep in an old Harley rebuild. Mia. Ray got kicked from the shelter. Too full. She's back on the street. Thought you'd want to know since, you know. She followed it with a halo emoji and a smirking one. Ryder cursed under his breath. He should have expected this. The city liked to pretend it cared, but beds were limited and mercy even more so. He stared at the text for a long moment. He could ignore it. Tell himself she wasn't his problem. Tell himself he'd already done more than anyone else. Instead, he wiped the grease from his hands, grabbed his keys, and went looking for a girl who didn't even know she'd become his responsibility. Ray sat under the crumbling overpass, knees pulled to her chest, backpack pressed to her side like a shield. Cars roared overhead, the vibrations humming through the concrete. Her whole life fit into that backpack. A couple of shirts. Socks. 2 photos. A notebook. 1 pen that still worked. She'd tried everywhere. The shelter. The church basement. Even the overnight clinic. They all said the same things. Sorry, we're full. Try tomorrow, honey. We wish we could do more. Wishes didn't keep you dry when the rain came. She rested her forehead on her knees, swallowing hard. She would be fine. She always found a way. She didn't need anyone. She didn't. A low rumble cut through the noise of traffic. Different. Closer. A motorcycle, deep and smooth, not the broken cough of the street bikes she heard racing through the neighborhood at night. Ray looked up. He was impossible to miss. Black bike like something pulled out of a nightmare. Black helmet. Black t-shirt and jeans. Leather cut with the Hell's Vow patch glinting dull in the fading light. Ryder eased the bike to a stop at the curb, killed the engine, and pushed up the visor. Those same storm-colored eyes found her instantly. Ray's heart hammered. How did you? Mia, he said simply. She talks too much. Ray glared, even as relief and humiliation tangled up in her chest. I didn't ask her to call you, she snapped. You don't have to come check on me. I'm not your stray. His mouth twitched. Could have fooled me. He swung one leg off the bike and closed the distance between them. Up close, he seemed even bigger under the overpass, like the shadow was his to command. You got a bed tonight? He asked. She lifted her chin. I'll figure it out. That's not an answer. It's all I've got. He studied her for a long, long moment. Every instinct he'd sharpened in this life told him to walk away. To let the world do what it did best, chew up soft things and spit them out. But that night he'd come home to find her curled up in his bed, replayed in his mind like a movie. The way she'd clutched his blanket. The way her guard dropped in sleep. He thought of his mother, of her hands, rough from work, gentle when they fixed his scraped knees. Of the way she'd fought for him even when no one else did. He hadn't been able to save her. But he could do this. Get on the bike, Ray. Her eyes widened. What? No. He arched a brow. You prefer concrete and cold? Rain's coming tonight. As if on cue, thunder muttered in the distance. She clutched her backpack tighter. I don't even know you. You slept in my bed, he reminded her evenly. You know me more than you know half the guys who walk past you every day. She opened her mouth, closed it again. That wasn't totally unfair. What do you want? She whispered. The question hung heavy between them. Ryder stepped closer, voice low. Right now? I want you somewhere safe. Somewhere you can close your eyes without wondering who's creeping up on you. Her throat burned. Why? She demanded again, softer this time. He didn't flinch away from the truth. Because I don't like the look on your face, he said quietly. The one that says you've already accepted that nobody's coming. Something inside her cracked. She'd been telling herself that exact thing for months. She hesitated only a second longer. Then she swung the backpack on, walked to the bike, and climbed on behind him. Hold on, he said. Ray froze, fingers hovering awkwardly over his waist. He reached back, took her hands, and pressed them firmly against his stomach. I said, hold on. His body was solid under her palms, heat bleeding through the thin cotton of his shirt. The engine roared back to life. As they shot out from under the overpass, wind slapping her face, city lights streaking past, Ray realized something terrifying. She felt safe. The second time Ray ended up in Ryder's bed, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't like that. Relax, family, I see you in the comments. Smirking face. He had a spare mattress dragged into the tiny room beside his, a storage closet he'd half cleared out. It still smelled like old paint and dust, but when he brought in clean sheets and an extra pillow, it started to smell like something else, possibility. You can crash here until you figure things out, he said, leaning on the door frame. Ray stood in the middle of the room, backpack dangling from her shoulder, dizzy with the simple luxury of four walls that were hers for more than a few hours. I'll work, she blurted. I can clean. Do dishes. Whatever. I won't just take up space. His gaze softened. You're allowed to breathe without paying for it, Angel, he said. But if you want something to do. He gestured toward the hallway. Come with me. Beyond the club's main rooms, the bar, the mechanic bay, the offices, there was another door, heavy and unmarked. Ryder unlocked it and pushed it open. Ray stepped inside and stopped dead. It wasn't what she expected. No weapons. No piles of cash. No secret criminal map of the city with pins and red string. Just a room. Soft yellow lamp in the corner. Shelves lined with old records and dusty books. A battered upright piano against one wall, keys yellowed with age. Canvases stacked in a corner, some blank, some covered in paint, some half-finished. You paint, she whispered. Badly, he muttered. She moved toward the nearest canvas, fingertips hovering. Smeared color, rough shapes, not quite anything and not quite nothing. What is this place? His shoulders dipped as he stepped in behind her, closing the door softly. Sanity, he said. Or what's left of it. Ray turned to him. She'd seen him as the biker president. The dangerous man everyone respected or feared. This was different. Here he looked human. He rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly awkward. Used to play in here when things got too loud. When the club, when life, he trailed off, jaw tightening. She glanced at the piano. You play? Not in a long time. Why not? His eyes shuttered. Some ghosts you don't wake up. Ray looked back at the canvases, letting the subject rest, for now. Her gaze snagged on one near the back, half hidden behind the others. Something about it pulled at her. She reached for it. "Careful," he said, moving quickly. "That one's not." Too late. She'd already dragged it forward. It was a portrait. Not finished. Just soft outlines and shadows. A girl, face turned slightly away. Loose hair falling across her cheek. Mouth set in a stubborn line. Eyes not fully painted yet, just smudges of color, but somehow familiar. Ray's heart stumbled. "This is..." "Nothing," Ryder snapped gently, grabbing the canvas like he meant to shove it back. She held it tight, knuckles white. "This is me." Silence. He stared at her, jaw clenched. The protest died on his tongue. Ray's hands trembled as she took in every brushstroke. "When did you?" "First time I saw you," he admitted, voice low. "Months ago. Near the bus station. You were arguing with some guy twice your size because he tried to shove an old woman out of line." Her eyes widened. "You were there. Across the street. And you painted me?" He exhaled, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I tried. Didn't get far." "But why?" she whispered. He hesitated, then gave her the honest answer. "Because I couldn't get the look on your face out of my head." Her throat went tight. "What look?" "The one that said you were scared," he murmured. "But you weren't going to move." Her fingers loosened on the canvas. She'd spent so long feeling invisible. Unseen in crowds, ignored in lines, stepped around on sidewalks. And here was proof that someone had seen her so clearly he'd tried to capture her on canvas. Someone dangerous. Someone she should have stayed away from. Instead, she found herself stepping closer. "You're not who I thought you'd be," she said softly. He huffed a humorless laugh. "People say that right before they run." "I'm not running." He looked down at her, something dark and hopeful flickering at the edges of his gaze. "You think I'm some kind of good guy now?" he asked. "No," she said honestly. "I think you're a bad man who does good things sometimes." His lips curved. "You say that like it's worse." "Maybe it's better," she whispered. Their eyes locked. Something electric hung in the air between them. Ryder cleared his throat and stepped back, breaking the spell. "You hungry?" he asked gruffly. "Kitchen'll have leftovers." Ray let him retreat, even though a part of her wanted to yank him right back. "Sure," she said. "But one day." He paused at the door. "You're going to play for me," she said. "On that piano." His jaw tightened. "Don't make promises for me, Angel." "I'm not." Her voice was quiet but steady. "I'm making a wish." He didn't answer. But the next time he sat alone in that room, fingers hovering over the keys, her face haunted him instead of his ghosts. Days turned into weeks. Ray slipped into the strange rhythm of the clubhouse. In the mornings, she helped Mia prep the bar. In the afternoons, she wiped tables and washed glasses. At night, she retreated to her little room and collapsed into sleep, listening to the roar of engines through the walls. She still didn't owe Ryder anything, she told herself. She was working, earning her keep. It didn't matter that he refused to take most of her cash, pushing it back across the table every time she tried to pay him. "Save it," he'd say. "There's more you're gonna need when you leave." The word stabbed her every time. Leave. He said it like it was inevitable. Like he was getting her ready for a world that would never accept a homeless girl tied to a biker president. Like he'd already decided this was temporary. One night, she found him alone in the art room, sitting at the piano with his hands in his lap, jaw clenched so hard a vein pulsed in his neck. She leaned against the door frame. "Your ghost's winning tonight?" she asked. He didn't look up. "Go to bed, Ray." "You keep saying that like I'm not going to be in your business." He huffed. "You're in everybody's business. Maybe everybody needs it." At that he did look at her, slowly, like he didn't want to but couldn't help it. The ache in his eyes stole her breath. "This piano was my mother's," he said, voice rough. "She taught me to play when I was 7. Said as long as I could make music, I'd never be completely lost." Ray stepped into the room, every movement careful. "What happened?" "She died," he said simply. "Car crash. Wrong place, wrong time. I was 19 and stupid. Joined the club 3 weeks later. Needed something to belong to before the grief ate me alive. Her chest ached. And the piano? Moved it here when I took over as president. Thought it did. I don't know. Keep me human. He snorted. Haven't touched it in years. She moved closer, until she was beside him, hip brushing the edge of the bench. Why? Because the last song I played was at her funeral, he said. And if I start again, I'm afraid I won't stop. Ray's hand hovered over the closed lid. So what? She whispered. Maybe you're overdue for a song. He laughed once, sharp. You don't get it. I get what it's like to be afraid of feeling too much, she said. I get what it's like to think if you start crying or talking or remembering, you'll never be able to shut it off. His eyes softened. But I also get this, she continued, placing her palm gently on the piano lid. You don't breathe right when you're holding it all in. He stared at her hand. You said once this room was where you remember how to breathe, she said. So remember. Silence stretched. Slowly, Ryder raised the lid. Dust motes danced in the air, settling on the yellowed keys. He rested his fingers above them. They hovered, trembling slightly. This is going to hurt, he muttered. Ray sat down beside him, their shoulders touching. I'm not going anywhere, she said quietly. If it hurts, let it. I'll still be here when it's done. The words hit him harder than any punch. He exhaled shakily. Then he pressed a key. The note rang out, soft, imperfect but real. One note became another. And another. A shaky melody, broken in places, like a story he'd forgotten and was trying to piece back together. Ray closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her, soaking into all the cracks life had left in her. He wasn't just playing for his mother anymore. He was playing for the homeless girl who'd stumbled into his bed by mistake and refused to leave his ghosts alone. He was playing for himself. When the last note faded, the room felt different. Lighter. Heavier. Alive. Ryder's shoulders sagged. He looked at her, eyes shining with unshed tears he'd never admit to. Happy now, he rasped. Ray smiled, small and soft. You have no idea. If this were a neat story, family, I'd tell you that everything was smooth after that. But we know better. Dangerous men don't get to have soft things without a fight. And homeless girls don't get to rest without someone trying to drag the ground out from under them. Word got out that Ryder's heart had shifted. And there are always people waiting to use that. One night, Ray was walking back from the late bus stop, arms full of groceries Mia had sent her to grab, when a car rolled to a slow crawl beside her. Windows tinted. Engine purring too smooth for their side of town. Her steps quickened. The car door opened. Ray Parker, a man's voice called. Friendly. Too friendly. She spun, eyes narrowing. Who's asking? The man stepped into the streetlight, suit pressed, smile sharp. He didn't belong here. Name's Cole Anders, he said. I represent some people interested in Hell's Vow. Her grip tightened on the grocery bag. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do. He nodded toward the bar's direction. Pretty girl like you doesn't end up sleeping in a biker president's den by accident. Heat rushed to her face. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. He slid his hands in his pockets. See, men like Ryder Cole, they gain enemies just by existing. Some of those enemies get tired of waiting for him to mess up. So they look for leverage. Dread crawled up her spine. You're wasting your time, she said, voice shaking. I'm nothing to him. Funny, Cole said. We've been watching. He seems to think you're something. She swallowed hard. What do you want? He smiled, slow and cold. Right now? For you to deliver a message. He stepped closer, so close she could smell his expensive cologne. Tell your biker, he murmured, that if he doesn't back off the dock deal, we'll start poking holes in the soft spots he's picked up along the way. His gaze drifted deliberately over her face. Then he stepped back, slipped into the car, and disappeared into the night. Ray stood frozen on the sidewalk, heart pounding. For the first time since she'd arrived at the clubhouse, she felt truly afraid, not for herself, but for what her presence meant to Ryder. She ran all the way back. Ryder was in the garage when she burst in, breathless. He straightened instantly, reading her panic like a neon sign. "Ray." She dropped the groceries carelessly. "We need to talk." His brows pulled together. What happened? She told him everything. About the car, the man, the threat. With every word, his face hardened, eyes growing more deadly calm. When she finished, her hands were shaking. "This is my fault," she whispered. "They're using me to get to you. I told you. I told you I'm trouble." "Stop," he said sharply. She flinched. He stepped closer, crowding her against the workbench, one hand braced beside her head, the other curling gently around her wrist. "Look at me," he ordered. She did. His eyes burned. "You think this is your fault because what? You exist." "I'm a weakness," she said hoarsely. "They can see it. I can see it. I should leave. If I go, they'll—" "If you run," he growled, "they'll know they scared you. They'll know you're alone again. And they'll still come. Weakness isn't about who you care about, Ray. It's about what you're willing to do to protect it." She swallowed. "You don't understand. If anything happens to you because of me—" "You fell into my bed one night," he cut in, voice low and fierce. "That was the start. But don't you dare stand here and act like you forced me into any of this." Her breath hitched. "This is on me," he said. "I chose not to throw you out. I chose to feed you. I chose to find you under that bridge. I chose to bring you home. I chose to let you in this room." His grip on her wrist tightened, then gentled. "And I sure as hell choose not to let you go because some suit in a shiny car thinks he can scare us." Her chest stuttered. "You don't understand what you're saying," she whispered. "I'm nothing. I don't have a job that matters. No diploma. No address. No family who can show up and fight for me. When I'm gone, the world doesn't even notice." His face shifted, pain flashing across it. "Angel," he said softly, "listen to me very carefully." He leaned in, so close she could feel his breath, smell the oil and soap and coffee on him. "You are not nothing," he said. Every word landed like a vow. "Not to me. Not in this place. Not in this life." Her eyes flooded. He continued, voice roughening. "You think I care about bank accounts and titles? I grew up with nothing. I know the difference between a person who wants what I have and a person who sees who I am." His thumb brushed the inside of her wrist, where her pulse raced. "You," he said, "see me. And I see you." Tears spilled over. She hated crying. Hated feeling like she was shattering in front of him. But he just watched her, steady, like her breaking wasn't something ugly, it was something honest. "If it gets worse, I'll handle it," he said. "That's my job. Protect the club. Protect what's mine." Her breath caught. "What's yours?" she echoed. His gaze dropped briefly to her lips, then back to her eyes. "Don't make me say it twice," he murmured. She swallowed hard, heart thundering. "Ryder, this started as a mistake," she whispered. "I was drunk and stupid and tired. I shouldn't have been in your bed. If I'd never walked through that door." He cut her off with a short, harsh laugh. "If you hadn't walked into my room," he said, "I'd still be sitting in the dark trying to remember how to breathe. You think that sounds better?" Her shoulders slumped. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Good," he said. "Means you're not stupid." He lifted her chin with 2 fingers. "Be scared," he said. "But don't run from me. Run with me if you have to. You hear me?" Her answer came out as a whisper. "I hear you." "Say it then," he pressed. "Say you're not going anywhere." She stared at him, this dangerous, complicated, broken man who had somehow become the safest place she'd ever known. "I'm not going anywhere," she breathed. His eyes darkened. "That's my girl," he murmured. "So, family." A drunken mistake landed a homeless girl in a biker's bed. She could have been thrown out. Forgotten. Swallowed by the city like so many others. Instead, he wrapped a blanket over her, fed her, argued with her, painted her from memory, played her his ghosts, and decided, very simply and very stubbornly, that she wasn't allowed to disappear. He was dangerous. She was vulnerable. And somehow, that mix turned into the one thing neither of them thought they deserved. A reason to stay. If you want part 2, where enemies press in, choices get harder, and I'll protect you turns into I'll burn it all down before I lose you, you already know what to do. Drop a comment, Angel and Grim, ride or die. And tell me where you're listening from. Globe showing Europe Africa, I'll be right here, ready to continue their story.